Welcome to Invercargill in New Zealand's deep south, home of Cycling Southland and a region rich in scenery and character. For the past 59 years, Invercargill has opened its doors to a small army of elite cycling teams who descend on the region for one of the biggest and toughest races on the New Zealand cycling calendar. Across 7 stages and 900 kilometres, the cyclists will face everything the roads, terrain and weather of Southland can throw at them. At the end of the week, the best will take home the titles and the jerseys money can't buy. This is the 2015 SBS Bank Tour of Southland. The Queen stage of the SBS Bank Tour has defined the race over the last 2 years, and even though the stage was shortened to 140 kilometres this year, the final ascent to Coronet Peak in Queenstown would likely be one of the most important stretches of road in this year's event. Calm conditions out of Mossburn saw another fast start, but it took some 30 kilometres of racing for a breakaway to stick. Again, it was that man Matt Zenovich off the front, who was joined in a 4-man break by Eric Marcotte, Nick Reddish and Luke McPherson. They pushed their lead out to 4 minutes around Lake Wakatipu, but as Coronet loomed, so did the rest of the field, closing the breakdown early in the climb and setting up a 2-man duel up the final alpine climb between Central Otago local Liam Aitchison and Christchurch's Michael Vink. After a 3rd place finish on the same stage last year, Aitchison would not be denied in 2015, completing a maiden stage victory 19 seconds clear of Vink. The race within a race saw 2nd place Robbie Hucker earn back 3 seconds on the tour leader, but for a 3rd successive day, PowerNet's Brad Evans will don yellow and take a 14-second advantage into the penultimate day today as the SBS Bank Tour of Southland heads east.
I think some of the team might be ready to give a breakaway a go, just to get some light on the tour here. Just make things interesting, and it's coming at the end of the week, so might as well give it a go.
The first day the winds, and then the next day the cold, and then it's just eased into it now in the hills. So yeah, a mix of everything this year. It's been really good, apart from snow. Could be coming yet. But
well, I race for a trade team based out of Christchurch Motors, so obviously getting all the race experiences as I can, and the fact that I crashed out last year, and obviously got to prove to myself that I can make it through the tour and try and get some results.
There's a lot of hills today, and I think they're going to be fast hills, so everyone's going to be powering over those. So yeah, we make sure we take a note of where all the hills are, how many kilometres to each hill stage, and then we got to make sure we're there, because I think it's going to split up a bit today, so we're all ready for that. Yeah, so we'll make sure we're all together, help each other out, and get in a good position for it.
A number of changes have been made to this particular stage for the tour this year, with a lot of hill climbs throughout the stage, including 2 circuits through Gore over the Broughton Street Hill. This is a stage that could be a defining moment in this entire tour after a couple of days of some tough climbing and racing out in Western and Central Southland.
Coming off the back of the Coronet Peak climb, this stage is going to provide the riders with another serious challenge. There's some reintroduction of some climbs out around the Glenham Wyndham area, and this could really test the riders' resolve at this stage in the race.
Here we are on the 2nd to last day of this year's tour. Fine conditions out of Invercargill, and you can see there's a few smiles on the face as young Adam Ball Placemakers has a bit of a conversation with the young man in the yellow jersey, Brad Evans.
Bit of an extended neutral section today. There's an 11k section as they tour around. There's Fraser Hewitt, Jeremy Ingles hamming it up, the Mike Guerrero squad and the champion system Team Dallas. Fraser's had a great race, and he's really put himself on the map locally. I've been really impressed with the local guys this year. He's one of a whole number of guys that have turned up. You can see here at the back Matt Zenovich. Man, they've had a great race, and they're really doing the local cycling fraternity proud.
So as the field makes its way down towards Rockdale Road here, the flag gets dropped near Verdon College, and once again we're underway with some hard efforts off the front, and it looks like the Mike Greer Homes team, of course, they've got Michael Vink in their team, and that there, so they're going to try and soften things up by the looks of it, because of course Vink, he's in that top 5 or 6 riders, and he's been climbing up every day in this tour.
Getting down to the business end of things here now, in terms of the overall classifications, the time gaps between things are getting very tight, and a lot of these teams are now setting themselves up trying to put riders away into breaks to make things easier in the peloton for those contenders so they don't have to do the work. So your Brad Evans's teams and the Michael Vinks's teams, and also Robbie Hucker and the Barry Stewart Builders team. It's going to be an interesting race today just to see what the strategy is from these major teams as they go along.
And speaking of strategy, we see the green jersey, the Harcourt Sprint Ace with Joe Chapman. He's had a couple of quiet days in the hillier terrain, waiting for us patiently here to try and pick up a few more points. He's got a pretty good sort of a lead here in this particular category. But this is, of course, the stage, Doug, that they've been talking up all throughout the week. It's got a lot of substantial changes to it this year, with a lot more lumpier terrain around the back half of the course.
It is very lumpy around the Glen and Wyndham area, and I think it's going to take a lot of these riders by surprise that are jumping off the front here early like this. The Wyndham-Glenham area, and especially out around the Bryden, Waimumu, and taking into account the Oceania Games course for the finishing circuit, Julian, this is going to test the legs of the peloton today. We are on day 6 of this race, and fatigue has just set in really big time with a lot of these guys. It doesn't dampen the enthusiasm, however, and you've got to say that the motivation from these guys throughout the whole week has just been sky high. We saw a shot there of Michael Vink, of course the man from the Mike Greer Homes team, who's decided to just have a wee bit of a nudge off the front, and we can tell the sort of pace going on as they're well stretched out into single file, and there's a big effort coming across to this leading group here. It's got a few seconds, and it's the man in the yellow jersey with none of his teammates having to cross there, and he's also got with him, looks like one of the former stage winners, A-Frame, of course, from the Kia Motors Ascot Park team. So looking at the sort of colours in here, this is looking like a strong sort of group of about 9 riders here early in the stage. Brad Evans has really impressed me this week with the Powernet squad. Often he's isolated on his own. He's a one-man band, Brad Evans. He takes things into his own hands. If there's a gap to shut down, he'll shut it. If there's an attack to make for a strategic reason, he'll make it. And you can see there, getting across on his own, this guy really is one of the strongest riders in this race.
Back in the chasing peloton, and it is the orange colours here of the Barry Stewart Builders, one of the key teams that have not made this break of 9 riders, which is quite a shock to say the least here. They've allowed the likes of Vink to get away. They've allowed the man in the yellow jersey to get himself off the frontier. So it is now put onto the shoulders of the Barry Stewart Builders team to get Hucker up there. Remember, it's only 17-second difference between these guys, and if they allow such a strong group of 9 riders to get away so early in the stage here, she could be all over for Hucker and the team.
Hucker really is in panic stations here. He's calling up the troops. There he is just off the front, having taken a turn. Barry Stewart Builders will have the alarm bells ringing here. This is make or break time for Robbie Hucker's GC position here in number 2. And you can see once again at the front, it's just rolling through as per normal. We've seen this all week. It really surprises me a number of riders that are getting away in this year's SBS Tour of Southland. It doesn't usually happen like this. There's such a strong field. There's such a good calibre of riders riding this year, and I think it's really impressive. The Avanti Racing team are back on the job here. Regan Goff's nominated. This is going to be an exciting time coming up.
Avanti Racing Team, of course, got 3 members within this particular group of 9 riders, as we see the Kia Motors Ascot Park team with a couple in there as well. The cool, calm, collected face there of the yellow jersey, but still back in that bunch there at 45k in average speed here. The boys in the orange jerseys are going to have to really put the foot down if they're trying to shut down the distinct move here being made by these top contenders. Real strong contenders overall in this tour, getting away from them.
A lot of the squads are nominated here. You can just see Joshua Keiston, number 53 from the Chester's Racing Squad, driving this break. He's going back at a rate of knots. He's going to get back in this train and come through and swing in for another turn. The chasing group is disintegrating a bit. This is not coordinated from the Barry Stewart Builders here. They're blowing it up a bit. It is reasonably lumpy coming up to Remu, and there's some quite sort of false rises as you go along, but this is not a coordinated chase at all.
No, it'll be playing with the mindset here as they can actually see those riders just up the road under 30 seconds, but they don't seem to be able to shut it down at this point in time. So Creation Signs, L&M Group Rico have also made their way towards the front to join the Barry Stewart builders. Of course, they've got Liam Aitchison in the pink jersey, and they're well aware that there are some under 23 riders getting away in this lead group, and you can see in the distance there as they get down these long straights down towards Seaward Downs.
Conditions for racing today are very, very favourable. We haven't got the big winds that we've had before. You can see the riders stretched out and echeloned across. Brad Evans once again tucking in. This man really knows how to meter his energy out. He's in the right move, he's in the right place all the time.
So the chase group can clearly still see those 9 riders here at the moment. It's been a seesaw battle as they try to shut it down, and it's still the Barry Stewart builders who have been given the job to try and shut that down to under the 30-second margin. But back in this peloton here, you can see some of the big hitters who need to get themselves up there if they want to stay in contention with some of the classifications, including yesterday's stage winner, Liam Aitchison, who's been in some very good form, but he's very well aware of who's up in that top 9, including some under 23s.
There's a lot of firepower back in that peloton. But meanwhile, in the front group, there's some disintegration going on. Brad Evans and Taylor Gumman have decided to take it on themselves, and they're away off up the road.
They're looking pretty good with it here, Doug, but coming across the motorbike of Joe Cooper, who has joined up with the Breakaway group, gone straight past them and decided he's going to continue to the front of the race. That is an outstanding ride by the national champion. He is looking for some redemption, this man here today. Of course, he is still in contention for that polka dot jersey, only 1 point down on it, and we're not too far away from the first climb of the day.
Joe Cooper's tour is just getting stronger and stronger. I think he'll be kicking himself for the strategy they took on day 1 and day 2, and Joe Cooper is really, really becoming a force to be reckoned with. He is the national champion, as you said, Julian, but this man can time trial as well. So having him in a break like this is really, really a big asset.
And it looks like he's been joined by the likes of McCabe of America and, of course, Mike Northey, a former champion of this particular event as well. So it is a strong-looking quartet up here as they make their way up in this first climb here of the day. Things starting to ease off, though, a little bit at the front, and they get themselves back into a large group. Cooper having a bit of a look around. He's decided, not at this moment, I'll wait back and see what goes on.
There's a lot of looking around, and I can see that the peloton itself is starting to stretch. These sort of events where there's a big elastic band that goes and goes, you can see Joe Cooper having it again. Something's going to bust here, and there is a move going to go away. The peloton can't cope with this kind of work forever.
Cooper is certainly wound up today. He's a man on the mission, and it's McCabe that's decided to go with him. We saw him in some pretty good form on day 1 into Bluff, so he's decided Cooper's the tail he needs to be on here as they make their way down this descent, and they're opening up a fairly sort of a decent gap early on.
Joseph Cooper is making a huge effort here to try and secure some more King of the Mountains points in the King of the Mountains competition. It's very, very close.
Here we have McCabe, who's had the wind taken out of his sails. He's heading back into the peloton, but the man who wants to secure those points is Joe Cooper from Wellington. He's got the power meter on there. You can see that red device sitting in the cranks there. He'll be downloading the data later on. He'll keep a close eye on the handlebars. He'll know the sort of form he's in and what sort of wattage he needs to produce today if he wants to try and pick up some serious time on these guys.
So with that win on that King of the Mountains climb, Joe Cooper now extends the lead out to 7 points over the second place rider Miller, who is in the Barry Stewart Builders team in the polka dot jersey. So Joe Cooper's now going to regroup, refresh. You can see the action back in the peloton. He is heating up. There he is, Joe Cooper at the front, coming back into the group. He's riding a very, very smart tour today.
And these riders now will be desperate to try and catch the breath after a bit of a scintillating attack there by Cooper. But no, as a couple have decided they've got to go again. It is Mitchell Lovelock Fay that we see just go out of shot here, and he tries to extend it out. Cooper, of course, not going to chase him when he's one of his own teammates here. And it looks like that man again, Matt Zenovich, who's decided he's going to go up to Mitchell Fay, of course, the defending champion from last year.
There's one guy you always want to see coming across to a breakaway move, and that's Matt Zenovich, because you can guarantee he's going to drive it and give it everything he's got. Once again, Joe Cooper, this man is on a mission today. He's really, really gunning for a stage win.
And bringing Cooper across is the man from Team Skoda, the under-23 pink jersey holder a few days ago. That is Nick Bain. That was an excellent effort by the man to try and get himself into this top 4 riders here, and this could be serious time here for the remainder of that chasing field.
This is going to be an interesting breakaway. Joe Cooper's just so motivated to make it swing, but we're starting to get into the hillier sections. This is where the real race is going to start.
So we're just down to the 3 riders now. It looks like Mitchell Lovelock Fay has done his dash there for Cooper, his teammate, and has decided to head back into the main field. But look, here goes Vink, the man who's desperate to get away from the likes of the Brad Evans and the Huckers of this world. He has been slowly but surely climbing up the standings every day. This is another opportunity for him to try and get there, but it's Evans who is doing a powerful effort to try and shut that down. Hucker, no surprise, tucked onto his wheel.
There's going to be some serious cat and mouse between this trio, Julian. We've got pretty much the major movers and shakers, the tour leader, Brad Evans, Michael Vink from the Mike Greer Homes, and Robbie Hucker from the Barry Stewart Builders. This is going to be the contest here. If all else fails, these 2 guys are going to decide who is going to win this year's SBS Tour of Southland.
Yeah, and the pressure's certainly onto Vink. He's the man that's got a fair bit of time to make up as they make the left-hand turn up through Wyndham, through Rogers Garage here. And the remainder of that group, they know what's going on. They're just going to sit and watch it unfold. Working nicely, though, for this group here of Cooper, Zenovich and Bain. They'll just keep to their paces here. Workers united front, making their way down towards Edendale and now opening a gap up to 1 minute and 55 within a few metres.
You've got to hand it to Matt Zenovich. He was on the attack yesterday, again today, and once again you can see the groups chasing and forming. There's a lot of to and fro. Michael Vink's getting frustrated. He doesn't see things probably rolling through at a pace that he likes, and this can actually happen. As you get on further in this race, frustrations can rise and things get a bit testy, especially when riders are at a stage where they're getting tired and are thinking about jerseys and classifications.
Liam Aitchison decides he needs to get himself onto the front, because it's not just Vink who's trying to get himself onto the podium. Aitchison is well aware that there is a man up the road who could be taking some serious time gains on that pink jersey here, but really there's not a lot of great effort coming from a lot of these riders here. They are continuing to allow Vink to do the majority of the work.
Meanwhile, the breakaway formed at the front of this race is getting further and further and further down the road, trying to snare the stage victory into Gore. There's a lot of apathy here. There will be a lot of conversations, some of them quite heated, I'd think, going on about the state of affairs. But these guys, it is now all about the finish. It is all about who's going to wear that yellow jersey, who's going to get second, third and fourth, and this is part of stage racing.
This is certainly playing into the hands of the man in the yellow jersey. He's got Hucker tucked beside him there. It's 17-second gap between the two. He's really the man he has to keep a close eye on here. The 3 up in front, they're trying to go for the stage victory here. They are no threat in the overall top 10 on the classification here. So it knows he's in a very good position as they enter into Gore for the first time today.
The famous Broughton Street, and the leaders once again, Matt Zenovich. This man just drives it all day. Joe Cooper's looking very, very ominous, and he's another guy who's coming on and on as the race progresses and as this tour goes on. And the gap back to the chasing group at 3:10, this is a really comfortable buffer. These guys are really confident at this stage, I would say, and they'll be thinking about where they're going to be, how they're going to approach this climb, and what their strategy is going to be to try and win this stage.
It's been a very impressive ride here also by Bain, but as he looks over he can see the national champion having another wee kick off the front. He'll be aware that he'll be trying to pick up further points here the first time over this Broughton Street hill into Gore, which is a big difference over the last few years. They will be climbing this twice today with some 20 to 25 kilometres to go now as they make their way over the top. Cooper opens up a reasonable sort of a gap for himself for the points. Will he continue? We're about to find out here as he settles into his paces to secure further points and firm up that polka dot jersey.
I'm going to be very interested to see if Joe Cooper eases off going over the top of this climb. Joe Cooper's intention is to win this. You can see back at the chase group, things are starting to heat up. This will be used as a bit of a springboard. These guys will be trying to offload some of the passengers that they see as being in this group. Michael Vink is just so determined today. He has been one guy that has really driven this chase group, trying to chase these breakaways, and you can see him. He is getting more and more frustrated as this stage wears on.
So we head to the leader along the back of this 25k circuit with about 15 odd kilometres to go here, and it is Joe Cooper who has set sail. He decided it was time to move on that hill the first time over and is settling into time trial mode, something he is very much aware of and how to do it at the right sort of a pace. He's going to start to open up a decent gap with about 1:10 back to that chasing pair that he was with, and over 2.5 minutes or so to this particular group, which is still an argumentative role here, with Vink trying to stir things up but not getting a great response from the remainder of the group.
You can see Brad Evans is getting a wee bit more frustrated about Robbie Hucker being on his wheel. He's trying to shake him off, but there's not a lot you can do in these situations. You've just got to roll with it. You've got to get through. In the end, this competition is all about who finishes first in that yellow jersey, and Brad Evans is doing a fantastic job to this point. He had a brilliant day up Coronet Peak, was very composed and measured, and once again today he's showing that he deserves to have that yellow jersey on.
The other point to note there was no PowerNet riders surrounding Brad Evans to assist with him here. He's been left to try and shut down those gaps, but he is doing it very controlled, as is the man on the front here. He is making his way in towards the finish. You can see by the signs he's signalling here to the camera, he's feeling very confident that he is going to try and take this particular stage out. As we said, he'll be kicking himself over the first couple of days, missing out on the opportunities here, but he'll now come back big time today, where he's going to take out the stage victory here, the Matara Licensing Trust stage, into Gore as he takes a bow to the large crowd in fine conditions indeed here. Joe Cooper will take out a stage victory here in the 2015 SBS Tour, and it's Matt Zenovich some minute later that'll come in to secure second, as well as the man that was with him all day long, the young man in the under 23, Bain from Team Skoda, will take the third posse here on the podium. And here we see the remnants of the chasing group, made up predominantly there of the orange jerseys in the end from the Barry Stewart builders. So Evans with a 14-second lead over Robbie Hucker going into the final day of this year's tour. Frustration for Michael Vink, who doesn't make up any significant time today, locked in at 5th place on the general classification. While Joe Chapman continues in the Harcourt Sprint Ace, Goff closing in on 44 points. While the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains saw a huge effort from Joe Cooper to move out to a decisive lead on 63 points. While Nick Bain shifts the pink jersey onto his shoulders today with a 54-second advantage over yesterday's stage winner Liam Aitchison. Brent Ornut continues with an 18-minute advantage over his teammates from placemakers in the Stonewood Homes silver jersey category. While Matt Zenovich once again receives the stuff.co.nz most combative rider of the day. Barry Stewart Builders now moves into the top of the Wednesday Cycles team classification, 15 seconds over Kia Motors Ascot Park.
It was probably the hardest stage of the tour. I'm still in second, but spent a lot of energy today, which I wasn't planning on it, but put the feet up and come out swinging tomorrow. The boys are riding really well together, so it should be a good day for us.
Gar coming in today, I was 1 point off Nick, and the goal was to get the points and try to get quite a big lead. The new Gore stage is pretty exciting. I mean, potentially, you could win or lose the tour on a stage like this. So, hopefully next year I'm sort of in that game.
Follow the 2015 SBS Bank Tour of Southland all week with full results, news updates, photo galleries and video coverage every day at tourofsouthland.com.